Kouwenbergen. Welcome to this Bemas webinar in cooperation with Verosoft, Dynamate and Proviron. We're going to talk about how to optimize asset lifespan and investment with preventive maintenance using Microsoft ERP systems. So we're looking forward to a very inspirational and very interesting session today. Before we start, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our corporate sponsors. You see the logos here beneath, so thank you very much for your continuing support, and also for the people watching live and also people afterwards watching the recording. It's possible to review this recording using your personal space on the Bemas website. You can access it through the login at the top right corner of the Bemas website. Let me also take the opportunity to make some promotion for a training that we are organizing starting in this autumn. It's a training on maintenance and asset management. It's a complete cycle with multiple sessions taking place in Dutch, but also in French. So if you're interested, don't hesitate to contact us or to have a look to the program on our website. And then another very interesting and also unique course that you can follow this autumn. So in September this year at Bemas is an English spoken ASQ certified reliability engineer training. So in fact, this is quite a difficult certificate to obtain. It really goes deep into reliability, block diagrams, etc., etc. And so for the examination, you need to prepare. And if you want to prepare, you can follow this course. So very interesting and unique opportunity. Final word of publicity. This is for our conference on digitization and maintenance and asset management called Asset Performance, taking place this year at the start of November in Antwerp, Belgium. It's completely international conference, so English spoken. We have more than 50 sessions. The program is live since today, so you can have a look on the website assetperformance.eu to the program, at the program. But I can already say that one of our keynotes featuring at the evening event will be Mr. Georges-Louis Boucher, who is a very well-known politician in Belgium. And we are going to talk about the future of Belgian industry, how to make Belgian, but also European industry great again. Okay, time to now invite our guest speakers and start with the presentation, how to optimize asset lifespan and investment with preventive maintenance in Microsoft ERP systems. So if everything goes well, I will be joined by Benjamin Brousseau. Hello, Benjamin.
Good afternoon, Wim.
Yes, hello, welcome to the call. So Benjamin, you will be taking care of the first part of the presentation. So maybe very quickly explain a little bit your role at Verosoft.
Yeah, so I'm a senior enterprise asset management consultant. So I've implemented many asset management systems across the past years. And before I used to do transformation research, especially focusing on user adoption.
Yes, okay, so your colleague Doyle is sitting next to you, and Doyle, you need to mute, and because otherwise we do get an echo. So Doyle, Doyle Detro, welcome to this webinar too. So you will be explaining what is Verosoft and what you guys are doing, but maybe very quickly also your role in the organization.
Yeah, thank you, Wim. We're honored to be invited in and to be a part of this organization. It's fantastic for us. So my name is Doyle Detro, and I'm the Enterprise Account Executive for Verosoft. I've got 25 years of project management, solution architecture, and functional consulting experience in the ERP and enterprise asset management space.
Yes. Okay. Very good. And then you will be bringing also a case of Proviron. And so, Robin, maybe you can join us also very briefly. And then, Gunther, you will be closing off the session. So, yes, Gunther, very quickly, Dynamite, what is your role in this? And what is your function?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Gunther Koppens, thanks for having us. Somewhat over 50, chemical engineer from a school or background perspective. Started Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, Navision or NAV implementations now probably somewhat 20 years ago. And I'm one of the founders of Dynamate, which then, well, goes back to 2008. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much. And so you will be joining us later on in the session. And thank you also, Robin, for being here. So you're working at Proviron.
Yes, that's right. Hello, you all. I'm Robin Wollard, 39 years old from today, and I'm Preventive Maintenance and Digitalization Manager at Proviron Functional Chemicals, located in Ostend. By background, I'm a chemical engineer, but I've always had a strong passion for digital solutions. So this interest has really driven my career, leading me to my current role.
Yeah, well,
I'm always looking for ways to make processes more efficient, and I've been successful in implementing these improvements with minimal resistance, which is something I truly enjoy.
yeah, well, in fact, and we will be learning about how Proviron is using these kind of solutions later on, also in the session. But yeah, let's kick off with a first presentation after this introduction on the industry challenges and the opportunities. Then we'll do a demonstration on how a solution like TAG Mobi in Microsoft ERP Business Central works and how you can apply that in for predictive and preventive maintenance. Then you will have the use case of Proviron, and then some other strategic considerations on for Microsoft ERP users and also other users in what to do and how to really integrate with EAM systems. And then we'll do a short recap, and there is of course room for Q&A. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat, and then we will answer those questions at the end of the presentations. So let's kick off with Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin, your presenter now. And Doyle, of course.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly introduce Verosoft. Verosoft, we're a Canadian based company. We're a Microsoft ISV, so that means independent solution vendor, which means we develop business solutions on the Microsoft platform. Our flagship product is a product called the Asset Guardian that we refer to as TAG and TAG Mobi. We sell this solution globally, so we do not only in North America, but broadly across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and we do a lot of business in Oceania. And we work with strategic partners to help us implement our solutions in these different regions of the world.
So we'll kick things off with industry challenges in Europe. Okay, like you've mentioned a little bit in the introduction, what we're hearing constantly from our clients, especially European client, is that the industrial landscape is shifting, and reindustrialization has really become a top priority, not only for organization but also for politicians and policymakers. Okay, so they're giving incentive to reindustrialize. However, it comes with its fair share of challenges, right? It's tight budgets, it's increasing compliance, and growing pressure to modernize. And what we're also seeing at the same time is that there's a significant pressure on the workforce. Okay, it's more and more difficult to find qualified maintenance worker. Maintenance is getting more and more sophisticated and complicated. Okay, so really those two challenges at the same time kind of forces organization to get creative and find strategy. It can start with automation or reviewing, how they're doing predictive maintenance. So we have Robin here on the call, will probably be the most qualified person to speak about this. Robin, how do you use automation to boost productivity?
One of the biggest steps that we've taken to boost the productivity is bringing structure and consistency to our maintenance operations. In the past, maintenance planning was highly fragmented. I mean, like each department followed its own methods, and some relied on paper calendars or even just their own memory to trigger preventive work. So that kind of approach simply doesn't scale anymore. So we've been implementing a dedicated plant maintenance system to centralize and standardize the way we plan, execute, and follow up on maintenance. This creates transparency across teams and lets us optimize resources way more effectively. Another focus that I've been working on is digitizing paper-based workflows. For example, all control rounds done by the production department are now performed digitally with tablets. Only that change alone had already a big impact. We've already logged over 5,000 digital inspections since the rollout, and all data is available in a digital way. Because of that, all the collected data becomes useful information for us. And of course, Verosoft software plays a key role in this automated flow. It's fully integrated into our setup and helps ensure us that tasks, documentation, and asset history are always connected and accessible.
Thank you, Robin. And on that, another thing that we're seeing as well is increased compliance cost and aging equipment. So now auditors or even just stakeholders want information fast. Okay, if there's an incident that happens or a breakdown, we need to be able to find those records quickly. And like Robin said, having an electronic copy of those records that we can search in a database and integrated system makes it much easier. Okay? Aging assets, we talk about reindustrialization. Well, there's a reason for that. The asset park is getting older and older. Often it's not smart assets, meaning they don't have sensors that can gather data, so we can shift from reactive maintenance to predictive maintenance. And why would we want to do that? Yeah, well, we can see it here. Of course, organizations know that reactive maintenance is not optimized, okay? But sometimes it's difficult to really evaluate the cost of reactive maintenance versus preventive or predictive. Okay? So here, just to put some numbers on just an average pump per horsepower, we see that reactive maintenance would cost about twice as much. But apart from only the cost, it's also the missed opportunity or the downtime that comes with it. So this can be very challenging. Now, I'll reintroduce Doyle, and Doyle we've been talking about problems and context for a few slides now, but I think it's we start talking about solutions and moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Ben, we recently had a maintenance professional share with us that in the lumber industry, the cost of machine going down for their company was $75,000 per hour. So obviously, reactive maintenance is not an option for them. Okay, so where do we go from here? For asset-intensive industries, the path forward includes 3 critical priorities. We need to reinvest in automation and modern asset management platforms. We need to shift away from reactive maintenance strategies, and we need to modernize aging infrastructure and equipment. Now, that can sound like a very expensive undertaking, but sometimes it doesn't mean we have to replace old equipment. It could just mean that we can deploy sensors on old equipment, connect to it in real time, so that we can we can monitor that equipment and take preventative action before something fails. These transitions are crucial to staying competitive. Maybe you've already started down this path, but you're facing resistance in terms of change management and that's very common. So when we talk about digital transformation, we often overlook the basics, especially the human side of the equation. We see issues like scattered or incomplete asset data due to poor interdepartmental communications, fragmented systems, outdated IT systems, or simply low adoption by your frontline user teams. You have maintenance professionals that have software too complicated, and they don't have time to use it, quite frankly, because they need to get things fixed. Often training and change management also are part of the problem. Ben, maybe you can share some of your experiences in this area as you implement our EAM system.
Yeah. And Doyle, maybe just try to maybe reboot your microphone. We're getting a bit of distortion, just to put it lightly. But yeah, an example I've seen, and I often see this when we're migrating client from a legacy system, okay, to a modern integrated enterprise asset management system, is that especially with their asset structure, the data is scattered or plainly incomplete, and then the maintenance technician, they do with what they have, and they just raise a work order, sometimes without an asset or just with an asset that's called, balance of plant or a very generic asset, and without this traceability, it's impossible to switch from reactive to predictive because we're not able to correlate what's the root cause of the inefficiencies or downtime from these assets. Okay, we might have, let's say, 8 pumps, but if we don't track specifically what pump keeps breaking, maintenance managers are just navigating blindly. Want to give it another try, Doyle?
Yes, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no, that works great.
So anyway, number one barrier to EAM success is poor user adoption. The biggest issue here is that systems can be too complicated. If a tool is painful to use, then maintenance teams simply won't use it. People working in the plant or working in the field, they need something simple and easy to use. And we know that here, if your personnel, if they're not using the systems, then the whole digital transformation effort will fall flat. We'll get no return on investment. We won't make any progress. So here's where we introduce TAG Mobi. Very simply put, we're trying to solve two of the biggest issues here. We have TAG Mobi, which is an optimized user interface for maintenance professionals, both professionals working in the plant or working in the field. And at the same time, it's embedded Microsoft ERP system. So TAG Mobi, again, designed specifically, it's a user interface designed specifically for maintenance professionals. The goal here when we developed this was easy to use user interface, embedded AI support, smart navigation within the application, and that all results in faster onboarding. So for example, someone's using it for the first time, we've got an AI tool inside that can ask, how do I complete a work order? And it will explain, tell them exactly where to go and what to do. TAG management applications, asset lifecycle management, full end-to-end asset tracking. So we're managing assets from acquisition to disposal with a centralized system that ensures we have visibility at every stage. Designed for cost and performance optimization. We want to reduce downtime and operational costs by being able to analyze asset data, tracking usage of our assets, and therefore optimizing our maintenance strategies for those assets. And again, TAG is full preventative and predictive maintenance. So we want to be able to, we've got the comprehensive tools for automating preventative maintenance and maintenance planning. We can leverage artificial intelligence and IoT using an IoT database. We can then get predictive insights, predict potentially when failures can occur, and optimize our maintenance schedules according to that data. And then we also get real-time monitoring and alerts. So simply put, if something breaks down, we can react to it immediately. And for example, we can create business actions. So someone gets a notification, we create a request, we create a work order. Someone might get an SMS message or even a WhatsApp message that there's a major urgent issue and it needs to be acted on immediately. All right, Ben, you're on mute.
Yep. So yeah, so I think it's time for action now. Enough talking. So I'll just go ahead and I'll share my screen. All right, so we should be seeing here essentially TAG Mobi. Okay, so we'll just start quickly at getting a quick overview of how the interface looks like. Okay, on the left, okay, and you see it's very designed intuitively and almost looks like it's designed for a tablet, which was the main idea. Okay, we have our menu on the left here, and within those menus we have submenus and actual pages. Okay. I'm logged in right now as a manufacturing manager, okay? And that's because we can have different profiles, and the different profiles could have different function. Okay? So if I had, let's say, a technician role over here, well, I would likely see less functions. Goal is really only seeing what matters for the given user. Right now I'm under the asset page, and here we'll have a very standard asset structure for a manufacturing company. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time here because Robin will have a real life example to show, but what we see is really that component and subcomponent relationship. So here I have one of my facility, okay, and within that facility I could have different production lines, let's say, or a different machine center, and those production line, if I drill down under the body shop, for example, okay, then I could have two different systems, and within those systems, I could go all the way down to what we call the maintainable asset. Okay, so why those structures are important? It's because it enables granularity in the data. Okay? Of course, in a perfect world, all of our work orders would be at the lowest level as possible, but sometimes we don't know. Okay? But not knowing is not a reason to not raise the work order immediately. So nothing stops us from creating a work order at the body shop level, and further down in the maintenance process, if we specifically identified that, framing station 1's the issue, we'll just reclass the work order. Okay, but this way we get the maintenance process, the corrective process, going quickly. I want to go over preventive maintenance and predictive maintenance in today's demonstration. Okay? So what we'll do here, we'll just take a look at a very simple work order. Okay? I have here a monthly inspection of robotic arms, work order 74. Okay? That's assigned to me. Okay? It's assigned to John Doe. Okay? And what I can do is if I left click on this work order, and you see this is very intuitive, almost designed like a phone. Okay, you had a list, you click on a record, it opens up the work order itself, and now my work order is divided into different sections. Okay, here I have generic info, and here task. I see that I have 4 tasks. Okay, and here I have my 4 robotic arms that I need to inspect and maintain. Okay. Often, we'll see more and more organization using attachments on digital work orders. So here I have one attachment. Okay? And the attachment that I'll have here is a picture, but we see some organization that are getting really sophisticated. Sometimes they upload just an hyperlink to, let's say, a YouTube video on how to perform a specific maintenance. But sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, or it's the only context that they need. And you don't need to download anything, you don't need to preview, you just click and then you have the information that's available. Okay. So from here, John Doe over here is expected to close this work order. Okay. So we'll click on the button report maintenance at the top. Okay. And from here, we'll be able to complete the work order. Okay. And you see, what's great here is that some organizations, they're just getting started with maintenance systems, so we can make this process very simple. We could personalize or customize this form to keep it as simple as just type some notes and just tell us if the work order is completed. Okay? But we have other organizations such as Proviron that's here on the call that are capturing much more data here. Okay? So I'll just quickly fill in and say inspection completed. Arm 1 needed sensor replacement. Example of other data that we could capture would be failure codes. Okay, so we could come up with a pre-list of failure codes. It could be sensors in my case, because the notes are useful, but they're sometimes more difficult to action on. So this where having some sort of codification could come into play. And you see here, all the technician has to do is really go down in the different menus or the different steps of that report maintenance. Next one being tasks. So I have 4 tasks to complete. They will say that the first one took me a bit more time because I had to replace a sensor, and these one, ARM 234, was just straightforward. And then I can check that I finished all of these. Often we might find other issues, so we could add some tasks. We could add a task for another technician. So really giving, the goal here is to empower our technician so that they can easily record information in our systems. Under usage, okay, I can add some consumption. Okay, so more and more what we see is that it's sometimes it's very costly. It's a lot of overhead to have dedicated store clerks. So more organizations are now getting their technicians to consume their own parts. Okay, so here that's what we'll enable that technician to do. We'll have them browse our item list. Okay, and then we can search on just a keyword. Let's say sensor. And here I have this robotic arm sensor, and I have 24 in stock. And we'll just put our location code, so we're consuming it from the main warehouse. It's a simplistic example, but we could support, more sophisticated warehouse with different bins and different shelves. And when we're done, we can hit submit maintenance report. Keep in mind, if we're just getting started with maintenance system, all we could have kept would have been that general section here. Now I'll submit this work order, and a big part of today's webinar is about integration with Microsoft ERP systems. So I'll just share my different tab. So now I've completed this work order 46, and I'll share Business Central instead. So now we should be looking at a different screen. Okay? And this is really the ERP. Think of it as the accounting and procurement system behind this. And if I simply refresh my page over here, pay attention to that work order number. I went from 723 to 724. And if we browse our records and we go descending, I should have the monthly robotic arm work order that I've just posted and completed today. Okay. And if we look at the summary here on the right, I'll have my posted usage and my posted time, okay, and other KPIs such as repair time. Okay. And let's say we inquire a little bit more on our items over here. I can search the exact same sensor within my ERP system, and I went from 24 to 23 in terms of inventory. So I don't want this to be, a demonstration on ERP and accounting system, but what's really important here is the technician, sometimes they don't even know that there's this whole, platform behind it that computes the costs and that takes care of those negative adjustment and inventory. That's really the goal is we let the end user, we let the maintenance team do maintenance work orders. And from a technology perspective, okay, we have our accountants that are happy that we have to write inventory valuation. We have our IT team that's happy that they all have to manage the users in the same spot. So really, that's the whole idea of it is have best of the both world, right? A maintenance system that's capable, but that runs on a trusted ERP by Microsoft. What I'll do now, I just want to take a bit more time, okay, to talk about predictive maintenance. So what we saw, is just a simple work order that I've completed, simple preventive maintenance work order. But we saw a bit earlier in the slides that we really want to get into a predictive approach, okay? And we'll do predictive maintenance 101 over here, okay? The premise or the idea is rather than maintaining, every week or every month, we try to maintain when the asset tells us that it needs maintenance. So what I have here is a transformer, and I can have some live readings, okay, of different metrics. Could be power, temperature, frequency, load percentage, okay? And the idea with those metrics is that we can create what we call rules. Okay? And we'll show here a different example of rules. One that's very easy to understand would be engine temperature. Okay? And here I have two thresholds on this rule. Above 100 Celsius goes to the yellow threshold, above 110 goes to the red threshold. Those rules will create alerts based off of the readings, the live readings that we get. Okay? And it's really those alerts that we care about. Okay? Those alerts will be used to trigger flows. Okay? And I'll show an example of a flow here that I have, transformer critical monitoring. Okay? And this exactly what it is. It's a flow chart, right? So here at the top, I have a trigger. So every time we reach those thresholds, okay, warning and critical, we want the system to get data from the equipment, get data from our technician list, okay, and based maybe on a condition, okay, either send an SMS or create a document, create a maintenance request. Okay? So really, your creativity here is the limit, okay? But if we take it top to bottom one more time, okay, we have devices that have sensors and readings. Those readings get evaluated through rules. If they break those rules, that create alerts, and we leverage those alerts to create flows. Okay? So the idea is really not over maintaining, not under maintaining, but maintaining at the right moment. So of course we have other features that we won't have the time to show today, and they're really important for modern maintenance teams. Just some few here that I would like to bring your attention to. One that's important is GIS integration. Yeah, so we see it more if you have some mobile maintenance or mobile operation. If you're not always at the same place, or if your assets are moving, this can be very interesting. Okay? And linear assets as well. Okay, so linear assets, think of it as pipeline, roads. So all this concept of maybe having segments, and those segments have relationship together. So we also support that. Now I'll introduce or reintroduce Robin. Okay, it's great to see a demonstration and great to see slides, but I think having someone real talking about problem is probably best. So Robin, kick us off.
Yeah, thank you. So the problem statement, let me briefly go over the key challenges that we faced before switching to Verosoft. Our previous system was a very outdated browser-based platform with no any possibility for customization. It didn't offer support for modern future-proof solutions, such as tablet integrations or mobile workflows. So in summary, our ERP and EAM were simply no longer aligned with our business needs. There was a lack of modern functionalities. And on top of that, our tool landscape has become very fragmented. As an example, we were juggling standalone applications, in-house developed tools, a lot of Excel files, which created silos and inefficiencies. And finally, of course, there was no real connection between the maintenance software and our ERP system. With all this in mind, it was almost impossible to automatically assign maintenance costs to the right department. Then, so why should you integrate plant maintenance within your ERP system? So one of the key reasons we chose for TAG is because it runs smoothly within our ERP system, Microsoft Dynamics. It means maintenance, operations, and finance are all working within the same environment. So no need for third-party connectors, and we avoid the complexity of additional integrations. As a result of this setup, it gives us a unified user experience, and it also simplifies our IT landscape. It reduces system overhead, and it also ensures that our maintenance data, like the costs, purchase orders, labor hours, are also directly and reliability linked to the financial side of the business. And since it's a scalable and future-proof solution, I am very confident it won't create issues when our ERP system gets upgraded. So now let's take a closer look at some of the practical features TAG offers, ranging from asset management to scheduling preventive maintenance, managing work orders and spare parts, all the way through the integration with our financial processes. TAG makes it easy to track assets, not only in terms of documentation, location, or spare parts, but also by keeping a full maintenance history linked to each asset. Like you see, the dynamic asset viewer gives us a clear view of the entire plant structure down to each level of the asset tree. And what's also great is the flexibility. You can assign a lot of parameters to each asset. Every type of company can define its own fields and links that it needs for its operations. So you can go in as much as detail as you want, or keep it as simple you like. And this allows us, as we will see in the next slides, to link both preventive maintenance plans, but also corrective actions for unexpected issues directly to the relevant equipment. So one of the core strengths of TAG is how it handles preventive maintenance. Instead of relying on various Excel files like we used to do, just to keep track of things like inspections, pressure vessel checks, pipeline inspections, or other legal compliance tasks, we now manage it all directly in the system. TAG allows us to schedule recurring tasks based on calendar dates or rules, and automatically generates work orders to ensure everything gets done in time and nothing falls through the cracks. And using the TAG date meter policies, it is possible to set up plans where preventive actions, inspections, or overhauls are automatically turned into work orders on a scheduled basis. The overview gives department managers also a direct and up-to-date overview of all preventive maintenance that's needs to be carried out. The software can also provide an immediate insight into the parts needed for specific tasks, like, for example, the overhaul of a motor or pump. So this saves a lot of time for us because all parts are linked directly to the asset, including the storage location of each item in the warehouse. You can instantly check the stock levels in the warehouse, and once the work is scheduled, the part request is automatically sent to our warehouse. That way, the required components we need are prepared and are ready within the time we want to start with the job. Okay, then on this side, you can see an example of the material requirements planning. What this list actually shows us are all the items where our current stock level has dropped below the safety stock, or where we have reservations in the system, like parts needed for certain future work orders, that will cause the stock to drop below the safety level. The only action our warehouse manager is expected to do is just to double check, marking the items that should be ordered automatically. Once this is covered, the system automatically generates a purchase request, which then goes to the purchasing department for approval. So in the end, there is hardly any human intervention needed to keep our warehouse stocks levels up to date. And now what's really powerful here is a direct link between a purchase order and a work order within a system. And this connection actually is key because it bridges our entire maintenance module, TAG. Think of it as a technical side with the financial side of the Microsoft Business Central package. And what this means in practice is that any costs associated with this specific work order, things like labor hours, the cost of material uses, and so on, are automatically linked to, for example, the specific business unit that the work order is assigned to. But it goes even further. We can configure various levels of additional dimensions to link these costs. For instance, we can easily track the costs related to preventive versus corrective maintenance, see which part of the company that incurred the cost, and even down to things like energy code, project code, you name it, it's possible. And the real benefit of this detailed linking between maintenance and finance is that it allows us to easily generate pivot reports. This gives us a perfect insight into all the costs incurred by, in our case, the maintenance department. So with this final slide, I'd like to briefly touch upon the financial aspect. By fully integrating maintenance management within our ERP system, we gain much more transparency, especially on a financial perspective. Every work order also is directly linked to its corresponding invoice, which makes it much easier for accounting to follow up on everything. So in short, maintenance and finance are now truly connected. and that leads to clarity, efficiency, and less errors. So thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm happy, or at least I'm going to try to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. So Gunter, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, good presentation. Thanks for that. Yeah. A quick word on Dynamate then. Who we are. We are a full service digital transformation partner, as it is called, based in Belgium. We are a one-stop shop for the SMB market. And we do so by integrating ERP, CRM, BI, and even e-commerce or digital marketing. And obviously, add-ons such as the TAG maintenance or asset management module. We have about 150 experts doing so, and we serve over 1,000 customers by now. We are the #1 partner for sure when it comes to implementing Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, this fantastic product you just saw in production companies. And yeah, that's also what we see, right? Many of our customers have some form of asset management. And luckily, many of them see the advantage of leveraging their existing ERP for this kind of work. Yeah, so a lot more on that on the slide. But if you wish, you can always reach out to us for additional information. Yeah, well, that's a little bit more of the same, I think. There's no real need to talk about these individual departments in depth. That's a little summary of what we do. And the core of what we do is Microsoft Dynamics Business Central as an ERP system, on which we bolt on great tools such as TAG Mobi, Enterprise, Asset Management. But there are many more services our company offers. So again, we are a one-stop shop for the SMB market for all of this. Thank you for that. Well, maybe also a little word on this one then. Yeah. What we do see, or will you take that one, Benjamin?
Yeah, I can help out. Okay, so what some of the best practice we see here is first we really need to identify the limitation of traditional systems. Okay, we often see kind of outdated interface or even outdated infrastructure. Okay, Gunther, if you want to maybe say a few words on outdated infrastructure and the move to cloud and like the advantage that they can bring to clients and why even going on this endeavor.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, indeed, we probably look at it a little more from an IT perspective. Yeah, we all feel software solutions are moving to the cloud. There is no stopping this. And yes, obviously, there are some economic reasons behind companies like Microsoft pushing the cloud. But then again, there are so many advantages, right? Hosting centers operated by companies such as Microsoft, they are truly state of the art. And with all due respect, there is no way small local company IT teams in a company can accomplish the same. I think security and ever increasing smartness of those people trying to hack our systems. Yeah, it's a matter of time. So it's extremely hard for local IT people to keep up with all of this. So I always advise customers when your hardware is up for renewal, really use that as a pivot point and carefully check if you really want to renew on-premise hardware or if it is the right time to switch to the cloud.
Yeah, and on that as well, like you said, that pivot point is also a good time to do what we call ERP right sizing or downsizing. So often, we see clients that have very heavyweight aging infrastructure. I know it was state of the art 20 years ago, and they paid significant investment to get that. But now, 20 years later, we see SMB ERP or just Microsoft Dynamics with a few extensions like TAG that gets the job done for way cheaper and better. Okay? So, like you said, it's really identifying that pivot point and making sure you find professionals and advisors that help with this transition.
Yeah, so this is a slide that we want to emphasize user adoption. So if you want to unify data across departments, the system needs to work for everyone. We're trying to visualize that in this slide. You can see headquarters in office. These are procurement people, accountants, management. They're using the full ERP and not just operational functionality, but accounting, human resources, functions like that. But then we've got with TAG Mobi in the optimized user interface, we've built something for maintenance teams. So people working in the plant have a user experience that's again much easier for them to use. And then in the same thing for people in the field and people maybe working out of a truck and driving around, TAG Mobi, we also have native mobile apps for iOS and Android. So even if they lose internet connectivity, they've got data synchronized to their phone. And again, this is all within one single system. So you're talking one, in the end, one application and one database. So these are not multiple systems.
Here we saw it a little bit in the introduction. Here we see a shift or an increase in compliance and sustainability, and like Gunter introduced it, Microsoft is putting so much capital investment and supporting the European strategy over here. So they've committed to be carbon negative by 2030. You have a lot of redundancy. You can choose where you want your data centers to be hosted. So difficult to compete with this giant, but you don't have to compete with it. You just have to be with it, and it comes with a whole range of local partners that can advise on the real context of your different industries, and think of it really as a platform that can support all of your needs. Okay? Here, let's talk a little bit about total cost of ownership. Okay, this slide is great because it really visualizes kind of the three different options that are in place. Okay, if we start on the left, okay, with Business Central and Mobi, okay, what we have, or the key consideration here, is having an integrated system. Okay, and what's great with that is it's a very predictable total cost of ownership, because the licensing doesn't change. Okay, or if you need more users, then it's a simple rule to evaluate your license cost. And compared to the two other alternatives that we have of maybe a separate ERP system and a separate maintenance system, maybe both systems hits your requirements, but it can be complicated or more difficult to evaluate the total cost of ownership, because then every time your requirements evolve, you need to make sure that the integration with those two systems is up to date, and support can get quite costly. And then the third section we see is a little bit the discussion I had with the ERP downsizing. Okay, those traditional heavyweight systems have very high total cost of ownership, very expensive perpetual license. Sometimes they're even hosted locally, okay, which incurs all other challenges and consulting costs or just support costs. So really just think of those consideration. There might be, it's not the end all be all to be on Microsoft platform, but I think the consideration and advantages speaks for themselves. So if we do kind of a quick recap of today's webinar, okay, let's not forget the very beginning, the importance of preventive and predictive maintenance. Okay, we're talking a lot about reindustrialization. We need to put in place smarter equipment, automation to really drive down the operational costs and maintenance costs. Okay. User-centric design and adoption. You might have the best system in place. If no one really uses it, then you're not getting a return on your investment. Okay? And ultimately, this would yield into a good ROI and operational impact. I think we have a bit of time for questions.
Yes, we do have time, Benjamin. So I would like to invite the other speakers also to join us. So I don't know how frequently they are being asked, but anyhow, there are questions. So um, let's start from the beginning a little bit here. So I think, of course, when yeah, rolling out such a new solution, I guess that the adoption by the people on the work floor is key. So how can you make sure that this adoption is taking really place, and how can you drive really a better acceptance, or yeah, make sure that people just get along with the system, or do you are really thrilled to use the system? So what can you do there?
Yeah, Ben, I think that I think you have a lot of experience there. I think you maybe share a little bit about our approach.
Yeah, so you're right. Adoption is it's really the key to get the ROI and the value out of the system. So what we do with implementation is we also put a change management approach in place. It's some fancy words, but think of it as just smart actionable actions of involving the end users quickly. Okay, what's difficult is when users are prescribed the system. Sometimes it's more difficult to have them engage or adopt it. So, straight from the assessment, we look at what are they used to now, and it could be, let's say, a paper-based checklist, okay? And our system being very customizable and user-friendly, we can try to mimic a little bit the paper-based process that they have. Once they trust the system, we can roll out progressively more complexity or changes. So really this having the user engage early, okay? Having process that are similar and then increasing complexity over time once we get legitimacy is a good way to deal with those challenges.
Yeah, maybe we can check a little bit with Robin. Did you encounter big hurdles when implementing, and or what were the challenges? Yes, you're still muted, Robin.
Let's say the last question, which maintenance KPIs improved the most after implementation. I'm talking after about the digital the
Transformation,
digital
yes.
inspection rounds, especially in our production department. We quickly started gaining much better visibility into some key parameters, things like the pressure and level and seal pods, for example. And after about 6 months, we could clearly see the benefits. We were able to detect mechanical issues earlier, like potential damage to mechanical seals, so we can respond faster and had a little bit less curative maintenance. So this really helped us to reduce unexpected failures and improved overall reliability of the equipment.
Yes, and so in terms of reliability, excuse me, in terms of implementation, so was this new system quickly accepted and adapted by the people on the work floor, or did you need to inform them, brief them a lot? So how went that?
Well, the system itself is very user friendly, a lot more user friendly than our previous systems. I think that the most difficult part of the implementation lies either in the initial setup of the system. So luckily we received a lot of support from Dynamate, which really helped us get through that phase. But if you think setting up all your preventive maintenance plans, for example, is at the start a quite time-consuming task. It takes a little effort for everything to get everything structured and aligned with how your site operates. But once it's in place, I think it pays off really quickly.
Yes, okay, that's good. And in the meanwhile, I understood that one of the viewers, live viewers, have had a question by raising their hands, but that's not possible to ask a live question by sound. So please type in your question in the chat, so we'll treat it right away. So maybe another thing, yes, you also talked about this predictive maintenance. Thank you for demonstrating that. And you're using this what kind of predictive flow. So what happens after an alarm is raised? So how easy is it, in fact, to adopt these flows? But for instance, when a certain technician is leaving, do you need to reconfigure a lot, or is this quite easy maintainable?
No, if we have the data on the technicians' availability, and we have a module that's called advanced time management that supports building shifts and who's on shift on the flow. If you remember correctly, it really said get technician data, and then the system could find the most qualified technician or the first available. So there's different parameters that we can configure to support such edge scenarios of, well, what if no technicians available?
Yeah. Okay. So it's not that it's based on a certain person. It's based on roles and etc. And
Right.
then it cannot even be adaptive according to the situation. Yes. Interesting. And so how thinking a little bit ahead. So how do you see evolve this predictive maintenance? And do you see already a lot of adaptation in asset intensive industries?
So
We-
maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, Vim, we do. Sort of, we're using the acronym IoT, which is the Internet of Things, which just means connecting to equipment. And IoT was a buzzword, let's say a handful of years ago, right? And Microsoft invested a lot of money. Software companies invested a lot of money. Technology companies did to make it a reality. But I wasn't really observing it happening, fully integrated into asset management and ERP systems, practically speaking, yet. But today in 2025, it is a reality, and it is something that we are covering as part of our scope with, I would say, almost every project that we do today. Companies want to monitor their equipment in real time. It's very important. It's very important to collect that data. And then also we have, we work with a lot of companies that are dealing with the infrastructure across a wider region, and they can't always be on site with all of that infrastructure at all times. So it needs to be monitored in real time. And in some cases, you need to outsource something to a contractor who's closer to that infrastructure than your internal teams might be. And we need to alert those sort of outside parties right away to go over and fix a problem. So it's a reality now, and it's something we do on every project.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that was said is that okay, compared to these legacy systems, using this modern technology is much cheaper. So going on the cloud, etc. But okay, way cheaper. How much is that then? Do you have a comparison, or do you guys benchmark that?
Yeah, Gunther, I don't know if you want to talk about, the cost of, the efficiencies of moving to the cloud. I would just say that someone just asked a question: is there a reference on maritime application?
Yes, I wanted to read that, but
cruise
go ahead.
ships? My answer is absolutely. Believe it, we actually have. We're meeting with one of our maritime customers actually on Thursday, just doing a checkup on them and doing an upgrade actually to our latest TAG Mobi version. This happens to be a company in North America that does cruises. So just like to say, yes, we absolutely do.
Yeah, now I wouldn't say that all of these systems are cheap. You won't quickly hear me saying all of that, but well, if you work with silos with separate systems, let's say, people sometimes ignore or don't realize the cost of having those separate systems. Yeah. Just alone the fact that not everybody in the business speaks the same language. Systems are configured differently, or you've seen some examples of inventory going down, and then the system automatically suggests replenishments. Those are all, let's say, hidden costs, which you or benefits, depends on how you look at it, which you don't have if you have separate systems. So yeah, the license cost obviously is there, but you're getting a lot of value in return, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting return on investment. Okay. So you have already, you have also compared the embedded solution. So TAG Mobi is embedded in the Microsoft Dynamics environment. So what is in fact what are for you the main advantages of having this embedment compared to native integrations or native solutions?
Yeah.
Rather.
so, one of the benefits is that we get to leverage sort of horizontal business functionality that Microsoft has already developed, and we get to focus just on the maintenance and the maintenance experience. We use the procurement and supply chain management functionality of the ERP to manage our spare part inventories on the maintenance side. So, and what's great about doing that is if we need to purchase spare parts, we're using the standard purchasing workflows of the ERP that the business uses. And then if we consume a part on a work order and we complete that work order, that part is automatically consumed. It's automatically reduced from inventory. The accounting is already done, and your financial statements are done in real time. So you don't have these disconnected systems where accountants have to do these monthly reconciliations. And you've got procurement spending money on one side, the maintenance people spending money on one side, and not being connected to the central organization. So.
I would like to add maybe one more thing is by moving to such an online system, you're always having the latest and greatest. Yeah. So the days of having very expensive upgrade pods are long gone, thanks to, let's say Microsoft's investments in the infrastructure. So every month you get a release from Microsoft, which brings you the latest, and you get a release of TAG Mobi, which again in turn brings you the latest and greatest. And so that I think there's another huge advantage of doing so.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. And well, elaborating on that, do you have a kind of a roadmap of things that are going to be implemented quickly or in the coming months? So what are some upcoming features that you can already share and that might be of great interest of the people watching?
Yeah, well, on the TAG side, so the good news is that we've covered a lot of ground in what we wanted to complete, and we have a lot of that released. We do have a product roadmap, and we've got that planned out with the version numbers well over a year in advance at all times, and communicated to our customers. Our next major initiative, and the initial beta development is complete, is a full health and safety module. So this is getting into some functionality we already have, like permit to work, lockout, tag out. But now we're getting into sort of key safe functionality, more advanced certification type features. So really what we're trying to do is incorporate a full-blown health and safety module within our maintenance application. And this is our next big release that we have coming.
Yeah, without any doubt, a lot of organizations are interested in that. So, okay, I guess with that, we've gone through the questions. I don't see any further questions in the chat neither. It's already 3 minutes past time. So by this, I would like to conclude and say a big thank you to all of the speakers. Thank you, Doyle. Thank you, Gunther. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Benjamin, who is still there, I guess. And of course, I would also like to thank all the viewers who are watching live. Thank you for your attention, and see you at a next webinar. Bye.
Yeah,
It was a pleasure.
Vim, hang on one
Yes.
second. Just let
Thank
people know if they want to scan the QR code. We're offering a free session, just a free 30-minute session to look at the current cost of their current systems that they have in place, so we can kind of do a comparison and see if there could be potential cost savings in a conversion to Business Central and TAG Mobi, and then also maybe explore some potential inefficiencies that could be happening where additional costs might be saved. Scan the QR code, 30-minute session.
Well, I'm sure of that. It's it does bring insights. Very good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Vim, for inviting us. Okay.
It was an honor for having you guys. Thank you very much,
Okay.
and see you
Yep.
later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.